Hello, I'm Adolpho Veloso, and I'm the cinematographer of Train Dreams.
His name was Robert Grainger, and he lived more than 80 years in and around the town of Bonners Ferry, Idaho.
I shot Clint Bentley's first movie, Jockey, in 2019. It went great, like we loved each other and it was a great collaboration. I was just really looking forward to work with him again. I was really lucky that he wanted to work with me again.
They left a lasting impression on Grainger.
Our earlier conversations were about how to make this movie feel like you watching someone's memories. It's almost like you found that box full of pictures, old pictures of someone's life, and you're trying to piece those pictures together to understand what life that person lived somehow. We were looking through a lot of old pictures, 1920s and logging. Most of the pictures we were looking at were at 3:2 aspect ratio. And we just kept going back to this memory feeling. We're like, why we just don't use that aspect ratio? It's also going to be great for the trees because we need a taller aspect ratio. And if somehow we can evoke that feeling you have when you see your old pictures, they're basically in that aspect ratio. Even today on your phones, most of those pictures are going to be on 3:2. So we just decided to go with a 3:2 aspect ratio. And then for most of the movie, like 99% of the movie, we just use natural light. When you're now using artificial lighting and you embracing natural light, most of your work is just done during prep, trying to convince everybody to go for it. And also, it's important to have a director that embraces that and wants to do that too, and a cast that embraces that and wants to do that too, because sometimes that means you're gonna have 1 hour to shoot the scene, but then you might have just 4 or 5 takes. And having a cast like we had that was really up for it is definitely key. We knew we also needed a smaller camera, and because of the natural light also, we just decided to go with the Alexa 35. To have a lot of dynamic range for the natural lighting, we just use real fire, we just use real candles. Whenever you see candles, it's just real candles or a campfire, and even outside or inside, it's just basically natural light. We wanted to keep it that way to feel a bit more grounded, but also allow the actors to move within the space without worrying about C-stands or any lights or anything like that. That camera just felt right. 17 stops of dynamic range is just like amazing. We had basically 2 sets of lenses. The Kowa spherical for the daytime stuff, especially the exterior stuff, just because I love the texture of that lens, but I also think it's the most beautiful sun flare ever on a lens, and I knew we were going to have a lot of sun and we're shooting a lot of the film outside. We also needed something faster for the night stuff. We knew we wouldn't want to change the ISO, so we just decided to have a different type of lenses, and we chose the Zeiss Super Speeds, the Mark II. There are 1.3 lenses, so that just worked for us. And then the zoom, we just had one zoom actually. It was an engineer zoom that we used for everything. One of the most impactful scenes in the movie, I think, it's that first shot of that you see a tree going down. You're just like tilting down with the tree and feeling all that power. Obviously, its sound helps a lot with that, so you feel that impact, but also the camera just like goes down and shakes with the tree. It's powerful just because of how unexpected it is. For that scene, we brought another camera, a red Komodo, which is a smaller body and that we kind of could afford in case things went wrong. Those guys, the loggers, when they're cutting the tree, they can pinpoint where it's gonna land. So we just rigged the camera, very stable, but not safety the camera, because to be honest, the weight of those trees would smash it anyway if the tree would roll. So we just trusted what the loggers told us in terms of the direction of the tree. And it was just perfect. And just one go, obviously. It's tricky because, we don't want to see trees going down. And I feel that production found a really good way of finding trees that were supposed to be cut regardless, either because it was dangerous to just keep that tree there because it was struck by lightning and was going to fall anyway. We had to work around those trees specifically, but I feel like it's so important in the movie to see nature being a character in the movie, and what we been doing to nature, and especially with everything else that happens in the movie, and you can see nature fighting back and all the consequences of what we're doing. I mean, nature is a character in the movie. So we decided to just treat it as another character. That means the way of shooting it, even like, okay, how would we shoot this shot if it was just a shot on another person? But it's not, it's trees. So let's shoot it that way. Let's not shoot it with a drone, because we wouldn't shoot the close-up on a person with a drone. Almost like you're shooting reverse on Grainier. Like you're shooting your character and then you're shooting in reverse on what he's looking at, and that's a tree. Or when you're shooting the trees, that's an over-the-shoulder on a character to another one. So we had scenes where you are behind a human being seeing the tree behind them, or you will have the trees in foreground with the person in the background. It's one of those scenes where you feel like what you did language-wise helps tell the story. I feel like it's important for the movie.
I'm made for this on the organ. I don't get my gears turning smooth till it's over 100.
The scene with Will Macy's character, he's just talking a lot and being this very eccentric guy and avoiding work at all costs while everybody around him is working. We were thinking about how to show that in a way that was not only interesting visually and had some comedic feeling to it, but also would enhance the narratives. And because we love the zooms, especially slow zooms, we just decided to always start the scene tied on him and just hearing him say the most absurd things or whatever he's saying. I'm actually surprised that that whole scene doesn't have any shake to the camera, because I was behind the camera just laughing all the time because he's so funny and he kept going forever.
Back then, we'd riddle a bowl with auger holes. Sometimes we had to wait a week for a good wind to topple them behemoths.
But we just decided to always start on him and slowly zoom out to reveal he's just there talking and talking and talking while everybody else does the hard work. I was just stationary on a tripod and zooming out really slowly. And it's always tricky with those scenes because it seems kind of simple, but you're trying to match the speed of what he's saying with the speed of the zoom. He would kind of do things a bit different every take, so just trying to keep it steady and smooth through the whole process. You don't also just change speed suddenly because he's reaching the end of what he's saying and you don't accelerate it. But like after one or two goes, you kind of get the feeling. We would compose on the wide shots, making sure that you couldn't see much of those things when you're tighter. Almost like, okay, we need to reveal at this point one person here and then come back a bit more, let's reveal someone else, in a way that it also works for the wide. And that also leads to the scene where he actually succeeds on exploding what he was supposed to explode, and then you understand, okay, he's there still for a reason. We liked also the idea on, in the end, revealing that he also does something. Not all the time, he's most of the time just talking nonsense, but there's a reason he's there. I was really lucky to be able to work with the same colorist I've been working for most of my narrative projects, Sergio Pascolino. He's a legend in Brazil. He did movies like City of God, and he's just really good on understanding what you actually shot and not trying to pull a different look out of it. There was something specific on this project that we loved, which was when I was looking through all those old images of the time, I found a bunch of that thing that they've been doing now, which is colorizing black and white footage. There was something about those images that were 99% accurate, but something that felt a bit off. So we played a bit with that too, like trying to give that impression that the image was actually in black and white and we colorized it somehow. It just gave a bit of that feeling.
He once worked alongside a man 2 full months without exchanging a single word.
When I first read Train Dreams, I really connected to the story. This guy that goes away from home for several months and he's working in remote places and with a bunch of people that he doesn't know. All of them are kind of eccentric. And I think the struggle about coming back home and feeling that he really belongs to that place almost felt like this is basically a cinematographer's life. You know, like we go away for several months to shoot a movie, a bunch of people you never met before. A lot of eccentric people too that you might not see again ever. And then it's always really hard to go back home and feel like you belong to any of those places actually. It's almost like you're always a foreigner somehow. It's even better, you know? It's not just working with Clint, it's working with Clint in a movie that I really want to be part of, that I really connected to.